you've written a number of books, and the book that I read of yours most recently is called Sapiens Reinvented. And I want to ask you why you wrote that book.
So that is my 19th book that I've written. And it's a complete one-off from anything that I have written before. My specialty has obviously been in the whole mental and emotional area of life, mental toughness, emotional strength, resiliency, and high performance. But this book was by far the most difficult for me to write. And it's probably the most important book I've ever written, and it will be the least read, I'm sure, because for a number of reasons. But I have 7 grandkids, and I have 3 sons. And over the years, I've become increasingly concerned about where our species, Homo sapiens, has been moving. Because of our propensity for violence and aggression, with 9 countries possessing nuclear arms, the idea that is, for me, the greatest threat to humanity is the fact that we now have nuclear capabilities. And at some point, particularly with AI, I was talking to someone with AI who's one of the cutting edge people with AI. He said AI will enable an individual to create their own atomic bomb in their own backyard. And with all you're going to have to do is get, enough uranium and nuclear material to do that. But the idea of being able to do it now is common knowledge and can be put into an AI formula and can be done. So I thought, if I could in any way change that trajectory by looking more deeply into why we have this propensity for violence and aggression and why we can't figure out how to get along on planet Earth. I mean, the number of wars. I went down a rabbit hole, I can tell you, when I did the research on this book. I mean, I looked at the darkest side. I looked at obviously the bright side, the benevolent side of humanity, but I really wanted to go and do a deep dive into the way in which Homo sapiens has treated its own in the time it's been on planet Earth. And I went into the documents in the darkest way, the darkest documents as completely as possible. I would never recommend anyone go through what I went through. I have the deepest respect for a lot of the researchers, David Livingstone and Robert Sapolsky and all these people who have gone into this. But I went into all the documents from Hitler's regime and all the most incredible, horrific forms of torture and all the things that have been done to our own species by our own species. And then went back and said, why is this occurring on planet Earth? We have the greatest capacity for benevolence, and we have the greatest capacity for malevolence, it's this dual nature. We have this amazing capacity for altruism, and then we have this amazing capacity to commit unspeakable acts of violence against, they're inhumane acts against our own. And the idea that if we are moving, I've kind of had the feeling for a long time, we're moving like a bunch of lemons to a cliff. We're racing, and violence and aggression since the beginning of our species, the idea was to really find ways of protecting yourself and your family, and anyone who could come up with a better weapon that would ensure your safety and the survival of your progeny, that was great. And so we have become better and better at advancing weaponry, from the crudest implements of rocks and sticks and stones to unbelievable projectiles and spears and arrows. And then now we have rockets of all kinds and poisons of all kinds. And so what we have seen is a remarkable evolution in how to kill other people, how to take down our enemies. And then when we dropped the first two bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we now know that we have the potential to do harm at a level that even there will seem like nothing. It will destroy planet Earth. There are enough nuclear bombs to destroy planet Earth multiple times. So I went in and tried to figure out what was the beginning of this? How did we develop prejudice? How did we develop slavery? How do we justify? What kind of moral justification do we have for committing these unspeakable acts of inhumanity to our own? So that, but I was down that rabbit hole and I wasn't sure I could come back. It was so horrific. It caused a darkness in my life that was just staggering to think we would do this to our own. But I wanted to go further and try to come up with some kind of solution if I could. How do we reverse this inevitability? It appears to be inevitable. And just right now, we have the Ukraine war, the Russia-Ukraine war. The Middle East is on fire. We have so many areas of, conflict in the world. And then, how do we curb this? First, what is the reason that we have gotten to this point? And is there any hope that we can reverse it before someone pulls the nuclear trigger?
What did you learn about why, or what the motivation for this incredible othering is, and the torture and the ability for humans to treat each other so poorly?
Our number one imperative, each one of us, is survive. Survival at all costs. That is what's genetically built in to the human species. There's just no denying it. And then the second genetic mandate is to make sure that your progeny survives. So people are crazy about their own survival as number one, and then the survival of their family. And as man evolved, they began to realize that the chances of survival are much better when you come together, when you develop a community of people searching for food. You can share food, you can defend against aggressors, you can wisdom and all this stuff. And so man is really a social creature. And in the earliest years of evolution, those who kind of came together in a common kind of theme to take care of one another and to protect against outsiders, those and that really satisfied this powerful genetic link, coded mandate to survive and to allow your progeny to survive. And that is where I think that's how it all begins. That's where the origins of prejudice, of all the inhumanity, because what happens is you begin to realize that there are others out there that don't look the same as you do. They don't have the same rituals, and we're competing for the same resources. And so there's an element of distrust that began to develop. And that if you didn't look the same, if you didn't act the same, if you didn't have the same, respect for boundaries and everything else and resource, then this gave you almost a genetic mandate to take them out, to do whatever you can to protect your own. And so your morality started there. You protect your own and you protect yourself at any cost. And if it means the annihilation of another life form, and then you dehumanize them, they're not the same as you. And when you dehumanize someone, it means they are at a lower level, and that you can purify whatever the species might be at that time. You can justify whatever it takes, and if it means taking another life or actually torture or whatever, you have to make sure that other people don't mess with your people.